Thank you. And welcome once again to Planet Normal, the Telegraph podcast with Allison Pearson.
Hello.
And me, Liam Halligan. Now, Planet Normal's been going for more than 5 years. We've had 267 weekly episodes. During that time, of course, as many of you all know, the rocket of right thinking, we've kept a safe distance, haven't we, co-pilot, from the madness of planet Earth?
Our country, as you may have noticed as we enter into, is it phase 2 or phase 3 of Keir Starmer's government, has been occupied by weird aliens. A Prime Minister who thinks women can have a penis, a new Deputy Prime Minister who goes one better and insists that men can grow a cervix.
A country where a much-loved comedian is accosted by 5 police officers and arrested at Heathrow. And meanwhile, your house gets burgled, your car gets nicked, and it's very difficult to get the police to show up.
There's no such madness on Planet Normal. That's why we climb aboard the rocket of right thinking every week to visit our celestial retreat. But we're delighted to have finally found a safe place to dock here on Earth.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is a rare terrestrial episode of Planet Normal, because we're here, a place stuffed full of Planet Normal citizens, people of sound mind and common sense, the 2025 Reform Party Conference!
Now, as we saw with Nigel's visit to Washington earlier this week, Britain's proud reputation for being the home of Magna Carta, free speech, the mother of parliaments, is being trashed by tin pot authoritarians.
It certainly is, co-pilot, and that theme is very much captured in today's very special Planet Normal guest. On regular episodes, you and I, don't we? We prattle on at the top of the show, sometimes for half an hour. Sometimes Allison talks about economics. Sometimes I get a word in, but not today. Let's get straight into it.
Our Planet Normal guest this week has become a living symbol of two-tier Britain. The sheer injustice she has suffered has shocked millions of people across Britain and indeed across the whole world. She's a wonderful mum, wife, beloved childminder, little kids from every corner of the earth she's taken wonderful care of. So I am, of course, referring to Britain's favourite political prisoner. Ladies and gentlemen, please give the warmest of welcomes
to Lucy Connolly. Crikey.
My blow.
I told her she had a lot of support, so yeah, now she does.
Great to see you, Lucy. You've been out of prison now, it's over a fortnight. You served 380 days, more than a year.
I did.
Of a 31-month sentence for a tweet that was, I think it's fair to say, pretty nasty. A tweet that you fired off on the evening of the Southport massacre in July 2024, when, of course, 3 innocent children horrifically lost their lives. You're a bereaved mother yourself. You and your husband, Ray, lost your son, Harry, tragically aged 19 months in 2011. You get seriously distressed when children come to harm. You deleted the tweet after just a few hours, after going on a dog walk. You regret the tweet. All that said, you must have been absolutely horrified when you were arrested and sent to prison.
Of course. I mean, never in a million years did I ever think I was going to end up in prison. And it's not funny, but as I said earlier, if you didn't laugh, you'd cry. However, I learnt a lot in there, and things that you'd never see in any other walk of life. And, you know, I really hope that I can change some things having come from there, because it really is such a broken system. The whole system just needs completely reforming.
Lucy, people have called you. Yeah. Just want to get this statement from Sir Keir Starmer. Very popular around here. Lucy, people have called you a political prisoner, and I know when I spoke to Lucy, she was in jail and we were allowed to speak, but only under strict conditions. And Lucy said something that struck me. She said, I knew they wanted to hammer me from the beginning, no matter what I said. And I just want to read, actually, this is a statement that Sir Keir Starmer made on the 4th of August. You may not have heard this, actually. I utterly condemn the far-right thuggery, the Prime Minister said, be in no doubt that those who have participated in violence will face the full force of the law. The police will be making arrests, individuals will be held on remand, charges will follow and convictions will follow. I guarantee you will regret taking part in this disorder, whether directly or those whipping up this action online. Lucy, do you think the Prime Minister's statement affected the way you were treated by the justice system?
I would definitely say so. It wasn't a fair system. Everybody should have the right to be able to seek legal advice in a timely manner, but if you're charging somebody on a late Friday evening, remanding them with no real reason, no legal, reasons to remand me, putting them in front of a judge at 10 o'clock the following morning, it's very difficult to go out and find, expert legal advice. You just have to go with what you've got.
Yeah.
And that legal advice to you was very firmly to plead guilty. And I think when I've discussed your case with people who, regular people who aren't journalists, who aren't following every twist and turn, they say, well, she pleaded guilty, didn't she? So what's the problem? Just explain to us here why it is that you pleaded guilty.
If I'd have pleaded not guilty, which I would have loved the opportunity to do, there is a really good chance that I would still be sitting in that prison right now on remand. They were in no hurry to get me through the system. They'd got me, they'd remanded me. Why would they be in a hurry to send me to trial or to sentence me?
Big delay in the court system.
There's a massive delay. I've met women in the prison system that have been there 2 years that, proclaiming their innocence, and I believe them, and they're still sat there waiting.
And of course, you had Edie at home with Ray, who I believe at that stage was 12.
Yeah, so...
You'd lost one child. You didn't want to miss any time with your existing child. You wanted to be home for Christmas.
All I thought was, right, what is my quickest way back to my family? And that was to go guilty. The sentence was a lot harsher than what we discussed and what, I was advised by my lawyer. He said, you'll be home by Christmas with tag. Turns out I wasn't, eligible for tag either. It didn't quite plan out how we thought it was going to. The judge basically added on my guilty credit on the other end, so I didn't really gain anything by going guilty, because I didn't really gain any credit, because he started from the top end of the sentencing guidelines as opposed to, the more lenient side.
There was a distortion of police evidence, yes, and the police released a statement, passed a statement to the Crown Prosecution Service, which said Mrs. Connolly doesn't like immigrants. She thinks they're a danger to children. Lucy, what did you actually say?
So, when I was first arrested, I had a solicitor, obviously, and I had my time with her, and I explained what the situation was, and I explained what I meant, and how I knew the difference between legal migration and illegal migration, and why I was so upset. And her advice to me was, you just put that really eloquently. I think you should go in there and tell the police exactly that, because you've just explained yourself really well. So that's what I did. I went into, interviewed by 2 police officers, and I explained myself. and I made it quite clear that I didn't have a problem with immigration, only illegal, unchecked immigration. I even went as far as saying, I'm well aware that if I go to the hospital today and I refuse to be, treated by an immigrant, I wouldn't get treated. And, as you know, I work for some doctors that are, Nigerian, Bangladeshi.
You look after their kids. They must think very highly of you.
And they are the most wonderful people. I know they really are. And I'm happy for them and I'm proud that they work, in this country and in our NHS. And I just explained, I explained about a situation when I was in Liverpool and my friend and I got accosted by two guys that were staying in one of the hotels. And I was just trying to make the point that, I'm big enough and ugly enough to back them off. We're quite brave, me and my friend. But not everybody is. If it was a young girl, if that was my teenage daughter, I wouldn't be very happy about that. And as I said to the police, and my friend said, they're there all the time. They do this every night, kicking out time. So my point to the police was, well, why are you not there then? Why, if they're there accosting people at 3 o'clock in the morning, where's the police presence?
Yeah.
And to that it was, I don't, and I said, unchecked immigration is a danger to my child and everyone else's child. And I'm well aware that we've got our own wrong uns walking the street. But one person in the country that could be a danger to my child is one too many. And all we've got to do is check them.
8 minutes. To that point, 30 people a day, 10,000 people roughly a year are arrested for tweets, retweets and other social media so-called transgressions. Meanwhile, you're in jail. The two-tier treatment is continuing. You're denied home leave, which is very usual for mothers of 12, 13-year-old kids. Meanwhile, a Labour councillor called, you're characterised as the Tory councillor's wife. Meanwhile, a Labour
councillor's racist wife.
Yeah, a Labour councillor, Ricky Jones, is cleared, even though he has called for, for the throats to be slit, literally, of far-right thugs who are protesting, ordinary people, some of them wearing pink and so on. How did you feel about that Ricky Jones case?
Do you know what? He was an idiot. I was an idiot. Doesn't make him a criminal any more than it makes me a criminal. He just was acting out of emotion.
I think that's an astonishing thing to say, ladies and gentlemen. Talk about a classy lady. And I know you said exactly that to Allison within 24 hours of leaving
I don't want to
prison.
live in a country where they're arresting people for having their opinion online and hurty words, and that's not priority.
Yeah. Family.
I wanted to, of the many stories that Lucy's told me, several very, very upsetting about being denied leave when she was entitled to it from November. They made up excuses like she spoke to me, stuff they were letting out, really violent people, weren't they? I want you to tell everybody here, Lucy and Ray's daughter is a wonderful golfer. She is just 13 and until Mum went to jail, she was the best under 15 girl golfer in Europe, right? Amazing. Yeah. And Lucy and Ray met at the golf club, so it was a match made in heaven. And recently, Edie was selected to represent our country at the World Junior Championships. Amazing. And about a month ago, she went to the World Junior Championships, and Proud Dad was there taking pictures. All the girls were posing with their national flags, Australia, Germany, America, and Edie, of course, representing our country. And Ray sent to Lucy in prison pictures of their daughter and all the other girls with their national flags. And Lucy got in touch with Ray and said, hang on, there's 5 photos you sent me that have been censored. Which child with a flag were you not allowed to see, Lucy?
My own. because I didn't know why at the time, so I rang Ray and I said, oh, these photos you sent me, I assumed that maybe she was in a bikini or something like that, because you can understand why they wouldn't let you have those on your wall or whatever. He said, no, they were all Edie just playing golf and the plants in the garden and stuff. And he said, oh, maybe it was because of the flag. I was like, no. Anyway, when I got out of prison and I got my stored prop, there was the photos with Edie draped in the flag with all the different country flags and the other children, but I wasn't allowed it.
That is Orwellian bureaucracy.
It's madness.
That is really nasty.
So,
you can't even see a photo of your own kid representing her country holding her national flag.
No, apparently not.
That's a disgrace. We just got a few minutes left, Lucy. I'm sure there's lots of people you want to thank, not least the lady to my left in the Margaret Thatcher
tribute dress.
I want to say publicly how proud I am of you, Allison Pearson, because
don't make me cry.
I've got to get my brownie points in, because I know, because we see a lot of each other, we spend a lot of time together, just what the knock on the door from the local police did to you. It almost destroyed you. And there were members of our profession who made fun of you and chided you, and they should be seriously ashamed of themselves, the journalists who did that. You were and are a warrior for justice in your own case, and that case is ongoing. But I would say that the way you've championed Lucy Connolly's case, the dogged determination you've shown, the humanity you've shown, in part stems from the experience that you yourself went through. So I say to you, Lucy, in just the last few minutes, I'm sure you'd like to thank Allison. I'm sure you'd like to thank Reform, not least Deputy Leader Richard Tice, who was the only MP who came to visit you in Northampton jail.
Yeah. Firstly, Allison, you're my hero.
You're
really
my hero, honey.
You just turned the tide for me by reporting the truth, and you didn't come out with your pitchfork like other mainstream media did without knowing all the facts. You didn't go with the narrative that the government were pushing. You went with the truth and the facts, and for that I'm forever grateful.
Oh, darling.
And with regards to Richard coming to visit me, I mean, that was amazing. That their attitude really did change towards me once he'd, come to visit and told them their fortune. And then...
you said that they started being like, anything we can do for you, Lucy.
Anything we can do for you. A bit late now, I'm going home soon. And obviously Nigel and all of you guys and all of the Reform Party and everybody that supported me, when it wasn't fashionable. Thank you all. And to my husband, who has just been amazing. He's such a good
Where is he? Ray somewhere. Where is he? Ray's here. Just want to say two last things. One very moving thing. One reason I wanted to champion Lucy's case is because nobody in the justice system cared that Lucy and Ray had lost their little boy at 19 months to medical negligence. And she called me from prison and she said, Allison, it's quite bad here, she said, but the worst thing in the world has already happened to me because I lost my baby, so it doesn't matter, they can't hurt me. So I have huge... And I think everybody wants to know you've become this symbol, and I know you said it's about more than me. So I want to know what next for Lucy Connolly. You've become famous now, notorious. What would you like to do?
I'd really love to use my experience to work with, hopefully, Reform in the future. and overhaul the prison system, especially the women's estate. It doesn't work. It's a waste of all of our money, and it just needs... we could let 80% of the women population out of prison and none of us would be any danger. They need housing, they need mental health, they need rehab, and they just need people to care. That's it.
Yeah.
And Lucy, you really believe that strongly, don't you? You think we don't actually need to build more prisons. We just make much better use of the prisons we already
Reform
have.
the system that we have, invest that money in housing, mental health, help for people. And how are you staffing these prisons? You can't staff the ones you've got. It's nonsense. It's not going to work.
And one thing, Lucy told me that she voted. How did you vote at the last election?
Reform? It didn't go down too well in her house.
She was married to a Tory councillor at the time.
You can get some tips off Suella Braverman. Oh, that one's that's changed now. So, Lucy, it's great to have you with us. I think everybody, in the way you've conducted yourself, in the small number of interviews since you've given, since you left prison. In prison, you demonstrated your intellect. You were enormous help to many of the women in there with their correspondence, and
them to me. I learned such a lot from them ladies. It's a different level of intelligence that they have. They've had to live. They've lived a different life to us. They're clever in a different way, and I learnt lots from them. Not all legal, but.
Actually, when Lucy went in, you said that they said, "What you in for, Luce?" And you said, "What did you say?" You
said a tweet, and
and they went,
"No, you're not." And actually, at that point, I was glad I was getting such a lot of, be it negative media attention, because they wouldn't have believed me. They'd have said I was something else, that nobody wants to be in prison, because everyone's got a cover story.
But you really do want to get involved in reforming the criminal justice system.
It would, it'd make me.
I think you've got
happy.
every qualification to do so, if I may say so.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
You're better in it now. Lucy, it's been an honour and a privilege to get to know you. I'm so glad that your case, that you're out of prison. I'm so glad you're reunited with your lovely family. So good luck to you. We haven't heard the last of Lucy Connolly, I'm sure. Ladies and gentlemen, Lucy Connolly.